Ambassador Zethkar's four eyes tracked nervously across the pristine white corridors of the Galactic Council's flagship as he escorted the human delegation to the negotiation chamber. The Vorthan diplomat had overseen first contact protocols for over 2 centuries, but something about these particular representatives made his chromatophores flicker with unease. "They're so quiet," whispered his aide Nimva, her translator barely catching the subsonic frequencies of her anxiety. Zethkar had to agree. Most species arriving for their first council integration talks filled the halls with excited chatter, nervous laughter, or at least some form of social bonding ritual. The humans simply walked in perfect formation, their identical dark uniforms creating a wall of disciplined silence, each step synchronized, each breath controlled, each pair of forward-facing eyes scanning the environment with predatory precision. The lead human, who had introduced herself as Colonel Sarah Chen, maintained that unsettling forward stare that made prey animals across the galaxy instinctively freeze. Behind her marched 5 others, all bearing the same economical movements and alert posture that spoke of training so ingrained it had become instinct. "Ambassador," Colonel Chen's voice carried the calm authority of someone accustomed to being obeyed without question. "We appreciate the Council's hospitality. However, we should clarify something before we begin negotiations." Zethkar's chromatophores shifted to confused purple. "Of course, Colonel. What clarification do you require?" "We're not diplomats." The Vorthan delegation exchanged glances. 3 days ago, when the human vessel had transmitted their credentials, the documents had clearly stated diplomatic mission. The ship's manifest listed cultural attachés, trade representatives, and negotiation specialists. "I'm afraid I don't understand," Zethkar said, his voice betraying only the slightest tremor. Colonel Chen stopped walking. The 5 humans behind her halted in perfect unison, a movement so precise it seemed choreographed. Earth's government reviewed the Council's integration requirements extensively. 17 different committees, 4 congressional hearings, and a full cabinet review. She turned to face him directly, and Zethkar fought every instinct that told him to look away from those forward-positioned eyes. The conclusion was unanimous. Sending actual diplomats would be a waste of resources. The delegation resumed walking, leaving the Vorthan officials scrambling to catch up. Nimva's chromatophores had shifted to distressed yellow. Then, "What are you?" Major Harrison, walking at Colonel Chen's left shoulder, answered without turning his head. "Military advisors, strategic consultants, problem solvers. But the negotiation," Zethkar began, "will proceed exactly as they always do," Colonel Chen interrupted smoothly. "You'll present your terms. We'll present ours. The difference is simply in our background expertise." They entered the vast negotiation chamber, where representatives from 47 different species had arranged themselves in the traditional concentric circles of galactic diplomacy. A gentle murmur filled the air as various beings discussed trade routes, cultural exchanges, and integration timelines through their translators. The conversation died as the humans entered. It wasn't their appearance that silenced the room. Humans were unremarkable by galactic standards. Average height, standard bilateral symmetry, typical mammalian characteristics. But something in their measured movements, their scanning eyes, and their absolute silence commanded attention. Counselor Vexthal, the ancient crystalline who presided over integration protocols, chimed his greeting. "Welcome, representatives of Earth. We look forward to discussing your species' contributions to our peaceful alliance." Colonel Chen took her position at the podium with the casual confidence of someone addressing subordinates rather than the galaxy's most powerful governing body. "Thank you, Counselor. Earth is indeed eager to contribute to galactic peace." She activated her datapad, and holographic displays materialized above the chamber. Star charts, tactical assessments, resource inventories, but not the cultural exchanges and trade goods typically presented during integration talks. "Our initial survey indicates significant gaps in your collective security apparatus," she began, her tone matter-of-fact. 17 member worlds lack adequate orbital defenses. 23 have no coherent ground-based military structure. Your border systems are essentially unpatrolled. Uncomfortable shifting rippled through the assembled delegates. Furthermore, Major Harrison continued seamlessly, your conflict resolution protocols appear to rely entirely on economic sanctions and strongly worded communiques. effective against rational actors, but inadequate for dealing with actual threats. Counselor Vexthul's crystalline form flickered with confusion. Colonel Chen, perhaps there's been a misunderstanding. We are a peaceful alliance. We have transcended the need for military. No, Colonel Chen interrupted, her voice carrying the weight of absolute certainty. You've simply been lucky enough to avoid encountering anything that doesn't respect your peaceful intentions. The holographic displays shifted, showing long-range sensor data from Earth's deep space monitoring stations. Dark shapes moving through the void beyond Council space, massive constructs that defied easy classification. The galaxy is vast, Captain Rodriguez spoke for the first time, her voice carrying the calm of someone who had stared into dangerous darkness and emerged intact. Peaceful species tend to cluster together for comfort, but predators hunt along the edges where prey feels safe. Ambassador Zethkar's chromatophores had shifted to alarmed red. Are you suggesting we're under threat? We're stating facts, Colonel Chen replied. Earth's reconnaissance indicates at least 3 distinct aggressive civilizations probing Council space over the past decade. Your sensors missed them because you weren't looking for predators. You were looking for friends. She gestured, and the display changed again. Tactical projections, defensive formations, response scenarios. Military thinking applied to galactic-scale problems. Earth doesn't seek membership in your alliance to gain protection, she continued. We seek membership to provide it. Your species have mastered art, philosophy, science, and diplomacy. Admirable achievements, but somewhere in your evolution toward enlightenment you forgot a fundamental truth. The chamber held its breath. Peace is not the absence of conflict. Peace is what happens when those willing to do violence stand between civilization and those who would destroy it. Colonel Chen closed her datapad, and the holograms disappeared. Earth's proposal is simple. Full integration, with one condition. When something comes out of the darkness that your diplomats can't negotiate with, your philosophers can't reason with, and your economists can't bargain with, she smiled, and for the first time, her expression revealed what had been hidden beneath the professional courtesy. Not malice, but the quiet confidence of an apex predator secure in its capabilities. You call us. The silence stretched until Counselor Vexthul finally chimed his response. And if we agree to these terms? Colonel Chen's smile widened slightly. Then you'll discover why Earth didn't send diplomats. We sent the people who make sure diplomats have something to negotiate for. In the depths of space, something vast and hungry turned its attention toward the small cluster of worlds that had just acquired very interesting new guardians.